I don't know that there's been a player that has influenced the game more than Steph.
Did Steph influence the game? Of course he did. But did he influence it in a good way that works for everybody else? Or did he influence it in a way that particularly works for him and other people are trying to imitate what Steph does, but not to the same degree?
When it comes to influence, since I've been watching the game, the most influence on the game, and obviously we know what Mike did for the game.
I hope he doesn't say what I think he's going to say. But if he does, history has a way of correcting people.
Steph and Allen Iverson are the two biggest influential guys in our game since I've been watching and covering it.
You know what they saying on Twitter right now? They say you be capping.
Allen Iverson is my favorite player. Steph Curry is a joy to watch. But to say they're the most influential players since LeBron James has been watching is simply not the case and is objectively wrong. From his own mouth, LeBron James will tell you who inspired him to play the game, basically making Michael Jordan the most influential player.
LeBron, it looked like you sought out Michael after the ceremony. You had a moment with him. What was that like for you? And can you share anything about what you guys said?
To shake the man's hand, that inspired me throughout my childhood. But part of me wouldn't be here without MJ's inspiration. I always wanted to be like him growing up. It's crazy that the game-winning shot tonight was a fadeaway, and it was inspired by MJ. The way he wore his shoes, the way he wore his uniform. I mean, all the way down to like some of the cars that he drove. How much he inspired me.
LeBron James is being disingenuous when he says Steph Curry and Allen Iverson are the most influential players in the game. Now, I know a lot of people might try to say specifically he's talking about game-wise with the impact they had on the court, but he said since he's been watching, they're the most influential players when that's completely not true. And what makes it even more, for me, disingenuous is the guys that you're saying that are the most influential since you've been watching contradict what you've been saying about Michael Jordan prior to that. You're not wearing Steph Curry's number. You're not talking about Allen Iverson or Steph Curry in the same way you talked about Michael Jordan in your previous talks and conversations about MJ. And there's a litany of evidence where he says this. And the guys that he's saying that are the most influential are influenced by MJ himself. Let's take a look.
I have to thank this man, because without his vision, I promise you, no Hall of Fame Allen Iverson standing at this podium if it wasn't for this guy. And you want to shoot like Bird, rebound like Barkley, pass like Magic, be dominant like Shaq. But man, I wanted to be like Mike. You know what I mean? I mean, it was Mike. It was my idol. It was my hero.
But when you see yourself cross over Mike twice, like, it's pretty impressive.
It was against Black Jesus. If I ever got an opportunity to try my move on the best that ever played the game, that I would. Got guys way worse than that, but it was just the fact that it was him. You know what I mean? And the crazy part about it is he still almost blocked. Just kept telling him how much I loved him and how much he meant to my life and my career. And, telling him I wouldn't have had that vision of playing basketball if it wasn't for him.
I'll preface this by saying this again. Steph Curry had an amazing influence on the game of basketball, especially on the court. Yes, he changed the game from a long-distance game where you see a lot of threes being shot a lot in today's game. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's the most influential player to ever play the game or had the most impact on the game. Allen Iverson is undoubtedly my favorite player of all time. I'm a Sixers fan. AI is my favorite player. And he had a cultural influence and a cultural impact on the NBA, without question. But he is not the most influential player to ever play the game. Michael Jordan is the most influential player to ever play the game. The sneakers, the iconic dunk from the free throw line, the way he started wearing his clothes, when he started wearing the long shorts, that was all influenced by MJ. You heard it from LeBron James. He grew up idolizing this man. You heard it from Allen Iverson. If you go back and watch the interview with Michael Jordan and Steph Curry, you can see the way Steph Curry is interviewing this man, the admiration and the respect that he has for him while he's talking to him in this interview. You hear a bunch of people say it all the time. When Michael Jordan enters a room, there's this aura, this presence about this man. And the impact he had on the NBA far exceeds any other player that came before him and that came after him. That's just a fact. That doesn't mean the other players in the NBA aren't good. It just means that this man's impact on the game was more influential than any other player who came before him and who has come after him.